thing is special not just for its scale, but because it has some Holmes Hobbies goodness. Yeah, it's a big old box. Just for comparison's sake, Bronco, it's a big box. And you know what they say about crawlers that come in a big box?
They usually are a big crawler.
Let's check it out. So in the box, as well as the crawler, we have a manual and we have the 1080 programming card. Now if you're like me, you probably have a few of these already, but if you don't, they're a handy thing. And we also get some scale goodies. There's a tool and some ways to affix these extra bits and pieces. It's an FS GT2E. This is the older AFHDS protocol. It's not the AFHDS 2, which is what your GT5 and GT, well, the other GT ones come with. 4 AA's. This is probably about as nice as it gets for a simple 2-channel. Steering trim, throttle trim, dual rate, reverse of each channel, bind button, on off. It's comfortable in the hand. The wheel has a nice action. It's got this nice rubber. In fact, this feels nicer in the hand than many radios, so I quite like the radio. Now, this seems to be a trend in recent times, and not just with crawlers. The Armour Outcast is painted on the outside too. The Marksman here, oh look at that! We got wheel wells. I watched Holmes Hobbies video. John Robert Holmes did his review of this when it came out. And I was so excited for him. Hi John, if you're watching, love your work. But I watched the review some months ago and I thought to myself, I must get my hands on one of these. It's just so exciting to see that small business has taken off in such an impressive way in the hobby. I mean, he's a staple of crawlers these days. Oh, look at this. They've painted it brown underneath. Do you know what that means? As you scratch this, it's going to look rusted underneath. I had that idea recently for, it was the Charisma. Painted on the outside, and as it scratches, it's going to show up rusted. Light buckets on the inside at the front, ready to go. No light buckets in the rear. Stickers have been pre-applied already. It's quite an attractive little thing. It's got a similar, if not the same, driver as on the Axial models. Not painted, mind you, but honestly, it looks pretty good. Side mirrors as well with reflective stickers. I like the body. It's a fake winch, plastic, but it's got a little pull tab. That's funny. WP1080 with a Dean's or a T connector on the end. I use XT60s on mine, but I've made an adapter. They're easy to make. You just solder the two together and just heat shrink it. So that's a battery ready to go. It's a Hexfly 25 kilos servo that's waterproof metal geared. It's a very slow servo. I know this servo already. I see bearings inside the front wheels and they're sealed bearings. 2.2 bead locks they are. They've got foams in them already. And they're Interco SSMI6 M16s. Oh, they're aluminium shocks. The links are bent at the front, telescoping shafts with an extender. I haven't seen that design before. Isn't that interesting? Just look at the wheel arches on this. Receiver boxes there. This is just so nice. It feels really plush. Springs might be a bit on the stiff side. They've been dialed down about halfway already. I'm inclined to leave it, actually. The balance looks about right. The steering arm on this thing's quite skinny, the drag length, but look how long this is. This is a big crawler. 2021 TRX4 Bronco. Slightly bigger. Got quite a few scale pieces on this. The wipers as well, they move. We've got a beautiful cage on it. It's a very attractive body. As far as inclusions go, there's a bind plug. A basic sticker sheet with blackout taillights and some other bits and pieces, bullet holes, smashed glass. That's a fun little sheet actually. Multi-language manual. And you got radio setup, which is good. Wiring, programming. How to adjust the slipper clutch. Basic manual, not bad. But what we're really here for is, this is the first upgrade a lot of people recommend. Look how protected it is. That's more protected than when you buy it direct from Hobbywing. The programming card they give you comes with a bunch of presets. Now we're going to plug this in, minding the polarity. negative, positive, and S for signal. Now we'll power up the machine. I've written a manual on how to program this already on RC-TNT.com, and it walks you through how to set these up. I've not driven this before. Trims are all good. Drag brake's not bad out of the box actually, but we're just going to have a quick look through this. Running mode, forward reverse, good for crawler. Next item, set to LiPo with low voltage cutoff. Cutoff voltage, I always keep that on low. Better for your batteries to leave it on medium, but I just like to have the extra runtime. Initial start force, I like to have that on 1, that gives you the lowest possible. Max forward force 100%, max reverse force we also want 100% on this crawler. Max brake force, brake's irrelevant. Drag brake's what we're after, we've just got forward and reverse, so you don't need 7 and 8 for a crawler. 9 is drag brake, and that is set to 100%. Drag brake rate is set to level 4, which is how quickly it adjusts the curve. So if it's on its lowest, it comes in really easy, and if it's on max, it brakes immediately. 4 or 5 is probably pretty good. We might go to 5 for that. Neutral range really depends on the radio. We'll leave that at 4. Start mode punch, I always go to 9. I don't want it lowering it artificially. I'll take the control in my finger. 13, PWM is already set to number 4, which is fine. That gets rid of that annoying whine. BC voltage is on 1, which is a 6 volt servo. You bop it up to 2 to 7.4 if that's what your servo supported. It's a 4.8 to 6.8 volt servo. The 1080 outputs 6 volts and 7.4. So if we run it at 7.4, which you can, you'll overvolt it and probably cook it. So we're running a 6.8 volt capable servo at 6 volts. Now freewheeling, we will enable that, and I understand with the 1080 that gives us drag brake even when you're off the throttle. I've just hit OK and it's loaded it in. I've got the smallest bit of throttle on and drag brake was active. Now we're just going to turn it off. We're going to bang this back on again. Back to 15. We're going to disable it now. Okay, turn him off. Turn him on. Drag brake's on. Now I'm accelerating and there's no drag brake. Under a little bit of throttle, it'll just run away on you. So you do actually want freewheeling enabled. That's what happens when it's disabled. Freewheeling just means you get a drag brake, you get an active drag brake. That means the drag brake works even when you're on the throttle, it still holds itself. It came disabled, I would recommend enabling it for a crawler, honestly. So now we're ready to rock, I think. There's really not much else to tell about this. It's a steel chassis, it's very, very stiff. It's got a beautiful departure angle, and that bump is just smooth as silk. This is just gorgeous. Tyres may be a bit on the hard side, but I quite like it. 3-link and panhard in front, 4-link in rear. The bumpers have been brought in all the way out of the box. So what we have here is a crawling optimized little machine here. Turn them on. It goes together very easily, no fuss at all. Body sits inside the sliders, which is really nice. So it's not going to get all busted up easily. Right, let's get this thing on the rocks. Yeah! It's a chronically underpowered servo. It's just not going to last very long in this truck, I don't think. It's really the only weakness so far. The motor is really plush. It's a lovely 5-pole, 16-turn 550 motor. We've got the 1080 tuned to perfection. But this servo, I already have a few of these servos and I know them to be kind of weak. They don't tend to burn out though, they just fade until they get really hot. So they probably won't die, but it will be frustrating to use. So the Marksman really is crying out for a proper Holmes Hobbies brushless servo. The SHV 500 V3 would be my choice. And in fact, I have a V2 or a V3 sitting around at home. I think that and a BEC. Oh, I don't even need a BEC. We can run it directly off 12 volts. That's the power of Holmes Hobbies. That really is what the Marksman wants, because that would unleash this machine like you wouldn't believe. And really that's all it wants. Better steering. Let's have a look at speed. So that's full speed. Nothing to write home about, but it's a crawler. Let's get to some bigger rocks, eh? Gosh, this thing looks good. This is like problem 3 at home. So what I really needed then was low speed control so I could increase the throttle and get it up around the edge of the rock. And that's exactly what the 5-pole motor delivers. That lower turn 3 poles especially just couldn't have done. It just would have spun the wheels and we would have lost traction. So that is why 5-pole motors are popular with rock crawlers, because they're so smooth and controllable. It is wonderful. And this thing looks good on the rocks. Oh, I'd love a stronger servo. I think with a stronger servo we might have been able to muscle our way across, but it just doesn't have the boogie. So the SHV 500, I think this is going to get a V2, but the V3 would be the one to choose. He's released an 800 as well, but this doesn't need that. There we go. Ah. One of the downsides of a 2.2 size vehicle is that your width means your diffs are going to get hung up. Now this is a straight axle machine and the tyres aren't enormous, but it does pretty well with what it's got. This is so fun. Torque twist is noticeable going forward and going back, especially going back. See how it lifts that wheel? So what I like is the lovely smooth movement from that motor. The tires grip pretty well. The suspension is plush and it just rides over the bumps. There's not much damage after banging over those rocks for a while. It's got plenty of speed. The body's really easy to put on, and I love how it sits in the side, in the sills here. I also think it's really smart that they've got brown painted on the inside, so when the outside scratches, it looks like rust. I was literally, I said it on camera last week. I was thinking about that for the Coyote 2.1. It's such a good idea. So it's super attractive. Oh, our guy's got some mud on him. Oh. It's very well thought out. The steering clearly needs an upgrade. The servo's super slow and nowhere near strong enough to hoik these 2.2s around. And the torque twist is pretty pronounced. That's about it for downsides. It's a beautiful machine. It's very fun to drive, very easy to drive. And it's not that expensive given it's a 2.2 crawler with sealed bearings, fully waterproof, and comes with such a high quality radio and ESC. Yes, the radio is entry level, but it's entry level in a nice way. It's pretty good. I've got a link below to my article about this machine. Throw me a like if you got something out of this, guys. Throw me a comment if you have any questions or if you'd like to know more. Always welcome the comments, and I do try and read every one of them and respond wherever I can. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you watching. So thank you, and I will catch you next time with another machine on RC-TNT. Cheers.